Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you while I'm there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Aspendale, head out to Cho or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, hit you while I'm there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Hello everybody, we are back. We're back with another Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I'm Gaarawarr. I feel like that's always obvious, but you know, you never know. We got new people in the community all the time. Like, why do they call this Gaarawarr's Guide? That's not a name for a person. Anyway, joining me today in the production booth is Jay. Jay's going to be grabbing questions from chat and generally keeping an eye on things. You know, trying to keep me on the rails, which is an impossible task. I don't know why they try. Never going to happen. If you do have questions, hit question, put question : first. It's down there in the little white box. It'll also pop up in chat from a bot command probably at some point, multiple points during the stream. Is grab the questions, because the way the tutorial show works is I talk on the topic for about an hour, but I'm not answering questions during that time. I'm just trying to get through the information for you so that it's all there and concise. And then in the second half of the show, we hit up all the questions. So if you do have a question pop into your head at some point, just go ahead and ask it. Just put question : in front of it and ask it. Yeah. And that way it's there and it's ready and you don't forget about it. Because like me, my head, I will forget. I will absolutely forget if I got to wait an hour to ask something. All right. Today's topic. Oh, hey, what are we talking about today? Today we're talking about Liar's Night 2024. This is going to be part one because, because there's too much going on in events nowadays to just fit into one episode. So we got to split them in half. So today we're going to talk about Cass, the newest champion that's arrived in Isle Champions. And we're going to talk about some of the flex champions that you can pick up. Specifically, I think we're going to talk Avren, Ezmeralda, Astarion, Dob, and Kent. I think those were the ones that I chose. I wrote them down in the document. And boy, I hope I was looking at the right thing. Yeah, there we go. No, maybe like oh man, when does Halloween fall? Well, unfortunately Halloween's on a Thursday. Man, if Halloween came on a Saturday, I could totally do an episode of this. I would totally do an episode of the tutorial show as Bandy. That would be funny. Slide aside, Bandy was a character I played on a TTRPG show that just wrapped up recently. Well, season 1 wrapped up recently. All right. So right now there's an event going on. There's an event once a month now. Back in my day, there were 17 events a year. You had one every 3 weeks. But things changed because that was, well, we did that for a very long time, but they wanted to enhance events and make events better. And one of the ways they wanted to do that was make them a little longer. So events used to last for 12 days, but now events last for 3 weeks, 3 whole weeks. They start on the first Wednesday of every month. So one just started on the 2nd. Today's the 5th if you're watching this live. It will end on the 23rd. They start and end at noon, Pacifically speaking. Whatever the time zone is. It's the Pacific time zone, but you know, daylight, whatever. I don't want to keep track of that. So Pacifically speaking, noon. And during that time, you have a bunch of options available to you for unlocking champions. Events are the primary delivery system for new champions in the game, and the primary, I'm just going to go out and say it, the primary way for you to get older champions now, like champions from the past. Time gates are kind of a secondary situation. This is what an event. And hey, up here at the top, if there's an event active, it's gonna have a list of the augments, which we'll go over. You can click it up here. There's also a thing in the campaign bar. Clicking on this takes you to the event campaign with the adventure node with stuff. We're gonna go over that in a second. But up here, we have the event thing. You'll also see, just like any other campaign, you'll see like your favor in that campaign. And then you'll have this thing called Liar's Tarts for this campaign. These are event tokens, and earning event tokens is something you do that lets you buy gear for a champion. Any champion that you've chosen in the event or is featured. There's 2 featured champions in every event. It can be a brand new champion and a reworked champion, which Voronika is a previous champion who's getting a full rework. And she will arrive on Wednesday. It can be 2 brand new champions, which we've had happen before. Or it could be 2 reworked champions, which we've had happen before. So these are the possible permutations. They've all happened, and they may all happen again at some point. But this event, for Liar's Night 2024, we get Cass, a brand new champion. Cass, a BFF of Vecna. And by BFF, I mean best foe forever. And then this, right away, you have what we call a flex slot that opens up along with them. And then you'll see, along with Voronika is going to come a flex slot. And then the week after that, on Wednesday, will be another flex slot. There's also this one down here, and it says it's open. This is a holdover from last event. I bought a boon. One of the augments from last event was if you buy a boon. For that event, you'll automatically get a boon for this one. So see, I'm at event boons 1 over here. We'll talk about that. And this is a DLC supporter slot. Basically, if you buy a pack from the shop, it will open up this flex slot as well. So what are flex slots? Flex slots, literally, it's kind of in the name. You get to flex a champion. You get to choose a champion. So it's a flexible slot that any champion you want from this list can slot into. 7 of these are past champions from Liar's Night, and then 2 are refugees from events that no longer exist. Okay, that's how this works. So, we got yourself a Kron, a Dinar, an Avren, an Ezmeralda, a Brig, a Dab, a Kent, an Astarion, a Thalora. All past champions from this game. It tells you like the year they were in. It tells you their seat that they're in, and the seat is more important. And it'll let you know, like, have you done this champion? Like, have you completed some content for this champion in a prior Events 2.0? Ezmeralda had arrived in a previous event and got reworked, and I completed her, so I have done all of her things, even unlocked all of her. I've done everything. So this lets you keep track of what you've done. All the others, 1 star means you previously completed all of an original event style thing with them, which was really just 3 variants, and that's what we call tier 1 now. So all the flex champions are going to have that for me, or they're going to have a 4-star based off my progress, right? Now you notice cost says free. That's because with this first flex slot, it is absolutely free. There's nothing. It's just part of what the event comes with. Original events arrived, and you had up to 3 champions that you could unlock. And guess what? They did that again with this, but then they added 2 more with these flex slots, and then another one beyond that. Right? So you could technically unlock 6 champions in an event now, whereas old events were just 3, and you were handed the 3. You had no choice. Now there's 2 that you're handed, sure, but then there's up to 4 that you can get on your own, right? Now these other flex slots, the ones that are going to open up later, next week and the week after, these cost 3 time gate pieces. Still worth it. This is the best use for your time gate pieces, other than unlocking Mert. Unlock Mert first, then spend time gate pieces on this as a second priority, and then spending time gate pieces on actual time gates is the last priority, right? Who you choose in the event is up to you. Like I said before, we're going to cover some of these today. We're going to cover Avren, Ezmeralda, Astarion, Dob, and Kent. We'll cover the rest of the flex champions along with Voronika next week. Because it's going to be hard enough for me to get through this. It's going to take a little over an hour. It always does for me to get through all these champions. To give them the information they deserve. This is your generic event page. Obviously, there's some DLC, event-related DLC over here on the right. You've got your event tokens up here. You've got your favor here. Event boons. So event boons, again, these are tied to buying event-related DLC. The way you know it's event-related DLC is it will have this D20 with the symbols coming off. This is an event boon. See? Plus 1 event boon. So that's how you know that, okay, well, if I'm getting that, it's going to give me one of these, right? Currently, that's the way it works. They've talked about maybe finding another way to do this, but right now, if it doesn't have an event boon, plus 1 event boon, you're not getting an event boon. Event boons are basically the stacks of potions of varying power. So, like, everything that's kind of like the main potions, the primary potions in the game, damage of all champions, gold find, health, bud, speed. We're going to talk about this one in a minute. These you get at a base amount, and that amount goes higher the more you financially support the game, right? And you can toggle these on and off through this menu. You can toggle them on and off through the tooltip in an adventure. Yes, there are reasons why you would toggle them on and off. Yeah. There's reasons. There's reasons I have some of these off. That's how event boons work. It's a reward for supporting the game financially. You can play the game just fine without it. I want to be clear. This is a highly free to play friendly game if you are new. Event augments, these change an event in a slight way. They're things that get they're basically things that the CNE, Codename Entertainment, the makers of the game, trying out to see, like, does this make things better? Does it make things worse? Does it make it so good it should just be here all the time? That's happened now. We haven't had these events 2.0 very long, and augments, but we already had an event augment called multi-tier that showed up multiple events in a row, and they have just made that. It doesn't list it here, because they have made it just a base function of the game. Events 2.0, forever now, as far as we know, will include a multi-tier, which basically means you can do multiple tiers of a variant all at one time. Wonderful enhancement to the game. We shall see if some of these others eventually become permanent enhancements. Who knows? Sometimes they may refrain from that just so that they can rotate through augments on occasion, right? We don't know. First one up, boon enhancement. That's an additional boon buff at each level, increases gems dropped from bosses. That was the one I said we'll talk about in a minute, because that's not normally part of the boon system. So this time around, if you support the game financially and you get boons, you're also going to get a gem bonus. So, as long as you're completing content with bosses and collecting those boss bags, Even if you're rushing past them with the Laura or jumping over them with a Briv, you get the gems. It doesn't change the gem rewards like that you get at the end of adventures or anything. It's just off the bosses. But that is a large source of gems in the game. So getting an enhancement there is good. Auto equip and auto blacksmith. I'm going to talk about these at kind of the same time because these are, I think, one of, like, along with multi-tier. I think multi-tier was a boon, like an augment that was kind of a quality of life feature for people like me. People who have been playing this game for a long time and can do all 4 tiers of content. It just made things a lot easier. Because instead of doing, trying to get through all 4 tiers and doing all of those variants, it took a lot of time. Much easier now. It is also helpful for newer players if they know they can do the first 2 tiers. It is a time saver, but it is definitely more of a time saver for people in the late game. Auto equip and auto blacksmith, though, these are fantastic for newer players. New players, early game, potentially even mid game, depending on how much progress you've made in the mid game. This is amazing. I cannot wait. Man, I can't even say I cannot wait. I'm really hoping that this kind of becomes a permanent thing too. I'm already all in on it. Because, oh my gosh, this is kind of such a fantastic thing for brand new players. Auto equip basically says when you've unlocked a champion, like in their unlock adventure, or anytime you complete a variant with them, just in case, you gain common rarity equipment for all their item slots. So all 6 slots will get what I call white gear. Some people call it gray gear. That first tier, the common gear, you're gonna just get it level 1 common gear, right? Now a lot of people are like, that's nothing. Well, those people are so far in the game that this kind of stuff doesn't matter to. But a brand new player suddenly has a geared champion, and just having even white gear on things is much nicer. You're at least getting the base multipliers for all the abilities and things. So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Love it. It's also going to reduce the number of chests required to get you to like green or better gear, which is part of what I consider like efficient gearing of champions to try to get them into blues or better gear, because you can only really get to blues in a very efficient way. You can't get, like, purple is RNG. It's a numbers game. But getting to blue, there is a system to getting there, and it usually involves like the easiest way involves electrum chests, like you get from codes from streams like this one. This is going to reduce the number of those required, which means it's going to be easier now to, like in this event, to get your champions into a solidly functional place. Okay. And that's just from auto equip. Auto blacksmith makes it even better. Now, auto blacksmith, it says every tier 2 or higher variant completed automatically applies a 100 tiny blacksmithing contracts to that variant's champion's equipment for free. This is not like necessarily great for brand new players. Brand new players is the auto equip. You're just getting white gear. Early game, mid game players enjoy. 100 tiny blacksmithing contracts is 100 item levels dispersed between your 6 pieces of gear. Okay. So if you can do it, what this means is if you can complete all 3 of the tier 2 variants, your new champion, even if they're still just in white gear, is going to have 50 average item levels worth of power. This is phenomenal. 50 average item levels, and you're going to be getting chests and things for tokens, and you'll end up with blue or better gear by the end of the event, much easier than normal, and you'll have 50 or more average item levels on that champion. I say just played, but the most recent new game run I did, where I started a brand new account and played through using my knowledge, but on a new account, fully free to play. My target was to get my champions that I was using up to average 50 item levels. It took a while to get there, but that power alone allowed me to push all the way through solidly into the mid game, which means into trials, into Icewind Dale, and beyond, because each campaign is in difficulty order, without really ever having any kind of speed bumps or roadblocks. Like it just a nice solid power cruise. But that took me investing all of my blacksmithing contracts as I earned them to get these champions into this power. They're just like, hey, here, have that power as a reward, just for tier 2. Look, folks, even if that's all you can do, if you're in the early game, that's enough power to carry these champions that you're unlocking and able to complete. If you can do this tier 2 stuff solidly in the mid game, even if you can only complete 1 or 2 of the variants, free blacksmithing contracts. Double thumbs up. Fantastic. Into the mid game, if you can get tier 3 complete, that takes you to 100 average item levels. The first, I'm clapping in between words because this is important. The first 100, that is in between words, that's syllables, item levels you get on a champion are the most powerful. That's the way this game works. Beyond 100, a system of diminishing returns kicks in. Yes, there are some pre-stack items, blah blah blah, that it isn't as bad, but that first 100 item levels is incredible power. So getting that free on these champions, amazing. This is why I'm really hoping this sticks around. I'm really hoping. I'm already voting. I've already cast my vote in the election, in the Liar's Night 2024 election. I want auto equip and auto blacksmith permanent, because this not only does this really smooth out, so like really create a smooth entry to the game, early game, mid game, or new player, early game, mid game, and let you transition and push quicker than you ever would have before. It's also going to educate people, because that's always important for me, educate people on the power of blacksmithing contracts, on the power of item levels. A lot of people play this game and they wonder why am I not able to complete like tier 2 content, tier 3 content, and they tell me what their item levels are, and they're like, I've got 8. I only have the item levels that were on the champion when I got them after the event, and they're like somewhere between 8 and 12 average item levels. That's, yeah, like once you bump those up to 50 or higher, suddenly content is just a breeze. Yeah, I am super. If you can't tell, I completely just utterly derailed this conversation. It took like 10 minutes to talk about this because I think this is huge. I'm super happy for players who are coming in and kind of in that new player early game, even mid game level right now. Late game, if you can complete tier 4, it's 150 average item levels. I complete tier 4. I'm not going to say no to 150 free average item levels on all the champions that I'm going to be unlocking and flexing. 150 is a lot. That's a lot of item levels that would have gone to somebody else. I'm going to flex 6 champions here. That's what? Oh god, I do math on stream. 900 average item levels, which means it's actually 5,400 item levels worth of blacksmithing contracts that I get free. Yeah, sure, they're assigned to these champions. I'm okay with that. I like putting power on all my champions, but it also saves me from having to use, if I had wanted power on these later, I'm using that on other champions. Hold on, somebody's saying the code isn't working, and I don't think that's true at all. I think you missed a letter, but you know what? Let me find out. codes, folks. Come in here, click open a chest, or actually unlock a locked chest. It opens up the cryptex, copy paste, cast an effect. Cast an effect, totally works. That's what it says on my screen too. But yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So last boon. Worth the wait. This one, I really think they've done it so much they need to make a decision. This just has to do with the fact that they're releasing one feature champion and then another feature champion the second week. I don't have any problem with this system. I know some people don't like it, but like they need to really look at their numbers and decide like is this healthier for the game to have people coming in, you know, and getting stuff every week or just front loading stuff. Make that decision, and then if you're just going to always split them like this, which I'm 100% okay with, I know not everybody is, then just worth the wait then should just become a permanent boon or something. But basically it means when Voronika arrives, you're going to get twice as many chests from her variants. Twice as many. No worries, Kipon. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, twice as many chests. So, you know, so your Voronika, if you're new, you're going to get, you know, more chests for Voronika, and that's fine because then that just means you can buy more chests with your Liar Starts for Cass, right? Or any of your other champions. All right, now over here again, they're talking about the like DLC event boons. They're going to offer some stuff over here. This blue one, this is just always going to be here until you buy it. This blue one is going to rotate every 24 hours. Mortal pots, okay. It's usually, $10 to $15 usually. And then they're going to have like their featured skins down here, like each week they're going to rotate this usually, but if you buy them. So here's some, neat stuff. You can find them here, but you can also just go to the shop. And if there are event DLC, do we have like a click? Yeah, we really need to add like event boons. Keep these around. Ooh. You can look to see like, is there anything on sale? And usually if it's brand new, there is. Otherwise, look for something that has a event DLC bonus, like a 3-pack of chests isn't going to have one, but a 7-pack and up will. And each week they're going to introduce more stuff that's event DLC. Yeah. So, clicking on a champion is going to give you more information about them. We're going to do a dive into each of these. But just so you know, you can track your progress here. You can see as you complete tiers of progress if you're doing them one at a time. I think this kind of needs to be reworked now that multi-tier exists. Because before you had to do them one at a time, whereas now you can make a solid progress across and maybe just show it all and then have a slider or something. Each tier gets you rewards. So as I complete tiers for Cass, tier 1's going to give me a buff for Cass, and you can find that buff here. Tier 2 has a buff, tier 3 has a buff, tier 4 has a buff. So as you complete, you get different buffs, and these buffs last for like 60 days from the start of the event. So they're going to be around for a while, and they're going to make those champions more enjoyable to play initially. And then usually like tier 3 and tier 4, these are all permanent progress rewards, by the way. So as you complete each tier, you never have to do it again. You'll keep your progress if you don't do it all. Tier 3 has a feat. Tier 4 has a feat. That's the rewards for Cass this time around. We'll see what they give Voronika. Only the featured champions usually have rewards. Now I say that, and you'll notice one of the flexes is Ezmeralda, and she has stuff, and this is because she has been a featured champion in Events 2.0. So she has buffs and permanent rewards. Now I already did her stuff, so this is a check mark on all of these others. I already have all these rewards. I can't earn them again. In fact, if I were to flex her, all of her stuff is done. All of her variants would be done. So there isn't really, like, the reason you would flex a champion that you've already 4-starred would be if you want to reset these buffs. This would give you these buffs for 60 days again, from the start of the event. And it would allow you to buy chests for this champion via your event tokens. Okay. If you had done like 3 stars worth of Ezmeralda and you think you're ready to 4-star her, you can flex her and finish her if that's what you want to do. These are the options they give you, or you can pick a different champion. All right, let's talk about. We're going to dive in. whenever you have things you can earn in an adventure node, there's going to be this little bubble, and you can hover over it, and it'll show you kind of the things you can earn. Right now, it's just chests. So, an event node, it's going to usually have one adventure at the top. But when you first start, because you haven't flexed anyone, it's going to have cast. And you just play a base adventure. You only have to get to area 50, and you unlock the champion. And that's it. That's the reward. You get a champion. And in this round, you get, because of auto blacksmith, or because of auto equip, you also get white gear, a set of white gear. So my cast has all white gear right now, even though I just unlocked it. Each champion's going to have their own event formation, like their own personal champion formation. This one is Cast's sword. So it's tricky. Not gonna lie, it's a bit tricky. You can do this as a new player. I have an example. I have example formations for brand new players only in my guides over on the subreddit. The Gaarawarr's Guide to a Liar's Night 2024 has links to the champion guides, and Cass's has their example. Yeah. Once you complete this, it becomes a free play that you can run for favor. That's how I got a bunch of favor. Favor is the big stick you hit things with in an event. It can help you more easily just kind of romp through this stuff and make the that's the only thing that affects the difficulty rating. And you really shouldn't try variants unless they show as green. You may as well you should just kind of be getting favor. But once you have the favor, then you can rock through them. I have not done any of these yet, so let's talk about each of these. Variants are more difficult versions of adventures. They're not places you generally push for favor. Usually you just go to whatever the completion area is and you leave. Now, in this case, because of multi-tier, if you know you have lots of power, like I know I have lots of power, tier goals are 75 for tier 1, 250 for tier 2, 600 for tier 3, 1200 for tier 4. I can just go ahead and rock this out to 1200 and get it all done at once. That's the power of multi-tier. That's why it's a fantastic thing they added. But if all you can complete is 75 and you can't get anywhere near 250, that's fine. That just means you're a newer player. You're an early game player, and that's how this is. This is kind of power ratings, like early game power. Well, brand new player power. Everybody can do 75. Everyone, even brand new players. Tier 2 is you have effectively the equivalent of early game power. Tier 3, you have the equivalent of mid game power, and Tier 4 is you have late game power. It takes accruing lots of power through a lot of different sources to get all tiers done. You're not expected to do them right away, and if you're in the early game, you're not expected to do all these, right? So don't fret about that kind of stuff. So the restrictions are listed down here in the box, and this is what makes it harder, and you need to understand what's going on. Cast starts in the formation. He can be moved but not removed. So you're required to use cast. That's the way all of these work. In modern events, the older events didn't, but they're trying to teach you how to use the champions. You may only use evil champions. This is going to be a little rougher for newer players. If you're brand new, 75, I've seen some people going, I can't even do this. I'm new. It's like, well, favor. You need more favor. You need to go do a free play and get more favor, and then you'll be able to rock through 75, even though you've only got like 4 champions available. You've got like Cass, Jarlaxle, Makos, and Archon. I think that's your 4 core evil champions. Yes, you can do area 75 with those 4 champions. You just have to get enough favor. Again, the favor amount you're targeting, we use scientific notation in this house. It's in the options menu, or you can press Y on your keyboard. This is numbers with the E's. You're targeting EO8, like 5 EO8 or higher. And then you should be able to do all of these. Okay. Lord of Tovog. So again, now you'll notice tier goals have gone up. That's every variant. The tier goals get higher. So once again, cast starts in the formation. It can be moved but not removed. Every second, a random champion in the formation takes a hit, dealing 10% of their total health. Just boom. This is what we call like a constant damage variant. There's 2 ways to deal with this. What this is trying to do is kill off your champions purposefully because of one of Cass's abilities, and then when they come back, they will heal themselves when they attack. We'll talk about that when we talk about Cass. but they're trying to do this on purpose. Now you can usually the way I tell people to manage this is with a shielder, someone who can group shield. Calliope is a core champion who can shield the entire group. Shield within 2 adjacencies, but also with her ultimate shield the entire group. And this damage will come out of those shields. And then you only use like 1 tank that has health share, which keeps your health lower, and then that 10% of the total health usually only comes out of the shields. There's a way to manage that. There are a lot of team shielders, not a lot. There are a handful of team shielders. You can use that, or you can lean into what the intention is, which is for everybody to die on purpose. Also, 1 to 2 Vecna zombies spawn with each wave. They don't drop gold nor count towards quest progress. They're just trying to overwhelm you. I call this an overwhelm variant. Swarm variant, basically. They're trying to swarm you with enemies, but it's not a big deal. Betrayer of Vecna. This is the final one. Again, the tier goals have gone much higher. Once again, cast starts in the formation. You can move but not removed. Bosses have 100% additional health for every 50 areas that have been completed, stacking multiplicatively. This one gets rough. No lie. Yeah. Fortunately, we don't have any armored enemies in this event. Then the boss on area 50 is hit-based. That makes it a little easier. You'll only get 3 multiplicative stacks in tier 1, but then the number is going to go up, and tier 16 enemies, the boss enemies, get beefy. They get beefy. This one's definitely a solid power check. Okay. 1 to 2 Vecna cultists spawn with each wave. They don't drop gold nor count towards quest progress. Pretty straightforward stuff. Pretty straightforward stuff. We're going to hop into the Trickster's Delight here and run through the champions. Oh no, did I have... I did. Like, did I have my core in, and it is going to load in something, and I did. And there we go. Okay, so let's get rid of all this stuff. Clear the screen. Clear the screen. Clear. All right. Cass is a slot 6 champion, or bench seat 6. Let's throw him up front, because not because he's a tank, just because he's the featured champion. Then we also have Avren is over here in seat 11. This is not his normal form. I will get him into a more normal form in a moment, but you know, it's not his normal form. Ezmeralda is seat 1 over here. That is her usual form. Astarion is over here. Astarion coming should be familiar to a lot of people. Dob, a little Dob will do ya over here in seat 12. And then I was going to do Kent in one of my background parties, but he's not anymore, over here in seat 4. Okay. You know what? Hold on. I gotta fix a familiar here real quick, because yes, pull this into this party. There. Now we've got the Sword of Cass on the field of Cass. All right. So these are the 6 champions we're going to cover today. Let me get Avren into his usual appearance. He's got so many skins. Here we go. I guess well, this is what I call the default skin for hand. All right. Here we go. Default skins. I mean, let's talk about Cass first. Let's hit the new hotness first. Cass arrives with no affiliation. Cass has been around since like 1st edition of D&D in one form or another. Okay. So this may not be the Cass you know, but it's the Cass we know. Male human fighter. Also, by the way, this is based off current 5th edition stuff. So Cass is part of the Vecna Eve of Ruin campaign book. So male human fighter. He is a vampire, though. They do not mention this up above, but they mention it in his abilities. Age 976. That should tip you off. Neutral evil, DPS, and healing. We only have one other champion that has both the DPS and healing roles, and they're not worth mentioning at the moment. That's so rude. Melee base attack, it says, signified by the sword icon over here. Cass attacks the closest enemy and other nearby foes with a sweep of his sword. So it is an AoE off closest enemy targeting. This is important to know for your DPS champions. base ability is called Vampire Lord. Cass is undead. Shocker. And counts as dead for the purpose of effects that care about dead champions, but alive for all other purposes. There are champions in the game who buff based off other dead champions in the formation. Via his abilities, Cass may cause one or more other champions in the formation to become his vampire spawn, which are also undead and thus count as dead for those abilities. So he sees dead people everywhere he goes because he's like, oh, you're going to be dead soon. You're going to be dead soon. Yeah. He creates dead. This is fantastic. Born into Evil. So keep that in mind because this is an important part of his kit. Born into Evil. Cass increases damage by 300% by an amount. I'm just going to say an amount because this can vary for reasons. For each evil champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. That's the good way. We like things that stack multiplicatively in this house. So he does want to be in... I mean, if in the best case scenario, everyone's evil. Now, that may not always be your best case scenario. You might have super strong buffers that are going to give you more than what this would give you for just having an evil person in. You have to figure that out. This is the experimentation and gameplay stuff that IL Champions is all about. But just know, evil is his preference. Mortal Pawns. Every time an area is completed, Cass gains pawn stacks equal to the number of champions in the formation that are not one of his vampire spawns. Right away, the key takeaway from this for you as a player is that you want to level Cass up to 40 as quickly as possible with a full 10 champion formation. And then you want to go as far as possible without anyone dying. This is the key takeaway. Right? Because that's how he's going to gain stacks. The second someone, we're going to talk about this, but the second someone effectively dies, we're going to get to this ability, they'll become one of his vampire spawn. So you don't want anybody dying. Kind of reading ahead. They don't tell you this in advance, but this is coming. Each pawn stack increases the effect of Born into Evil by 0.5%, stacking multiplicatively. I know that's a small number, but look, you're going to get a lot of stacks, potentially, right? So, yeah. Far as possible without anybody dying. Right here, it'll tell you non-vampire spawn champions. So that's, we don't have a full formation, but it gives you a nice little heads up here. Life Drain. When an undead champion in the formation attacks, they regain hit points. This is what I was saying. If you turn it, this is why that second variant is like, we're going to try to kill off your formation. Because the idea is you kill off the formation, they become vampire spawn. And then when they attack, they heal themselves for the, and yeah, okay. And they just take care of that permanent damage, right? That's the idea. Now, this doesn't just mean his vampire spawn. Notice none of this isn't referencing vampire spawn. This is any undead. So you can include, there are other champions in the game that have, that are counted as dead. Voronika, who's coming next week, counts as dead. Astarion counts as dead. Spurt, when you've hammered him, counts as dead. So there's other champions that count as dead in the game already. But remember, Cass can create his own. Spawn of Cass. Here we go. Here's the ability that kicks it all off. When a champion that is not already undead dies, they immediately resurrect at full health as a vampire spawn, counting as undead for the rest of the adventure. So, this is partly a, hey, I'm going to save you the moment you die. Mostly, a lot, the way this naturally is going to happen is usually for your tanks, right? Or if you're just getting overrun completely because you're at your wall. So yeah, this is how you're going to become a vampire spawn, as another champion. The effect of Born into Evil is increased by an amount for each undead champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Now, remember earlier where I said you want to go as far as possible to get as many stacks as possible? This is true. You absolutely do. I know this other ability says it's going to give you some more power as well. Look, this is the priority. Mortal Pawns, going as far as you possibly can, as humanly possible. As not dead as possible. It's important. But as you get to the harder areas, killing one person off is going to give you more damage, and then you can test, can I go further? You're going to get fewer stacks each area, but you could still progress. You kill enough off to keep progressing, then hit a wall, then kill enough off to keep progressing. Eventually, you'll have a full formation of vampire spawn. You'll have the most possible damage, but you'll also have gone further than you would have normally, and you'll be basing it off hopefully a very large number of mortal pawn stacks. Okay, but this is priority. This is secondary. You will eventually want to kill them off, but it is only at the end. Okay. This is Cast is a combination of other champions' mechanics in a unique way. We'll talk about that in a bit. But, all right, specialization choices. So you can focus this a little bit. Cast the Bloody-Handed versus Cast the Betrayer versus Cast the Destroyer. These are versions of Cast, right? Over time. Cast the Bloody-Handed increases the effect of life drain by an amount. And evil champions attack faster as their base attack cooldown is reduced by half a second. So for some reason you're going into like a survivability mode, like that variant where you're taking damage all the time. This might be the way to go, right? After everybody dies, then you just want to keep them alive. You could run this, keep them alive. This is a survivability thing. Cast the Betrayer. Casts damage against boss enemies is increased by an amount, because I'm saying by an amount because these numbers can change for reasons. And the effect of Born into Evil is increased by 100% for each undead champion in the formation. Look, boss killers with the damage that eventually you're going to have everybody undead if you need them to be, right? Could be huge. Could be huge. Cast the Destroyer. Increases the effect of Born into Evil by an amount. In addition, champions adjacent to cast gain the Evil tag. This does not affect their other alignment tags and doesn't affect whether they're eligible for the adventure. So this is, I think, the general choice. If you can build a full evil formation, this one's going to get big. This one's going to be the biggest. Cast the Betrayer. Because of the 100% for the amount for each undead champion in the formation. It's going to stack up to 10 times, right? But this gives you some incredible flexibility to add champions adjacent to Cass who are not evil, but are huge buffers, right? Or a huge tank, depending on where you're placing. And just having all your other evil champions non-adjacent. Right? So these two, I think, have are kind of the most use case scenario. This one is you can do full evil, want to do lots of damage. This one is, hey, you want to include some people who aren't evil. In fact, this Cast the Destroyer is now the core of. I've been talking lately a lot about what I call the Holy Trinity for melee champions. Cast the Destroyer is the spec that creates the Unholy Trinity, which would be Cass, Duke Ravengard, and Strongheart for me. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to that so much. Because they are not evil, but this will turn them evil and let you use some really strong champions that can just really destroy things through like the early game, mid game, and beyond for you. All right, here, I don't know. We're going to go. I don't think it matters. We'll just click this one because none of these matter at the moment. We're not trying to do a deep push. We're just demonstrating. Am I going to? I did soft cap. Okay, I got a lot of favor. All right, Rise Fallen Soldier is the ultimate attack right over here. Cast summons 2 specters that move towards enemies, dealing ultimate damage each second for 15 seconds. Here's what it looks like. They're not moving. I wonder if that's a bug, or if it's because everything's dying quickly. I don't know. But basically, they're going to pulse out bud damage. It's similar to BBEG, if you've seen BBEG, or Viconia also has like a pulse, but hers is fixed. Cass is kind of a combination of a little bit of Blushi, a little bit of Baloth, a little bit of BBEG, all in one. Also a little bit of Krond. A little bit of Krond. Krond is in this event, also in the same seat. Cass Krond is basically Cass light, I think. I think Cass comes in pretty solid. Alright. Items. Because we've got wide items we can talk about this. Just straight into great stuff. Born into Evil, Mortal Pawns, Life Drain, Spawn of Cass. Specialization choices and ultimate attack. I do want to point out, because the Spawn of Cass has an item, and it stacks multiplicatively, and the item clearly affects the pre-stack value. This is what we call a mathematically overpowered ability. This is the one that, like, this is the item that you would want to guild first, and you would want to throw lots of item levels into Cass because of this item. It's going to make him really, really strong. As you start, turning people into vampires. Feat-wise, self-damage. You got Born in Evil, you got the Pawns, you got the Life Drain, you got spec choices. He has a couple really neat ones. Sword of Cass, he gives him a 400% damage boost, and his base attack cooldown is reset at the start of every area. So he's just going to immediately attack the second, like he's going to be ready to attack every time you're in a new area. Here's another 400% for his tier rewards. Plus, anyone he attacks, they can't heal for 10 seconds, right? This is great. And then you got obviously lots of Spawn of Cass stuff, and you want that. And you want that. You do. If you notice, I didn't cover this. I don't normally go over stats because they don't necessarily affect anything. I just want to point out, Cass's dump stat, which for non-D&D people is your lowest stat, is a 19. Normally a dump stat is like maybe single digits, or maybe it might be like 10. 19! He's got double 26s, he's got 24s, 22, 20... he's ridiculously strong. It's just, that's not a thing that normally happens, folks. Alright, let's talk about Avren. Avren is a really strong support in his seat. Once upon a time, he was the best support in seat 11. It's not that he got nerfed or anything, it's just that other champions came in that are real strong there as well. So he is still really strong. Male half-elf, warlock, sorcerer, chaotic neutral, pure support. He comes to us from the Heroes of the Plains Streamiverse. This is a completed affiliation in the game. One of the few, maybe the only affiliation that doesn't have a DPS in it. Base attack is magical. That's what this symbol means. Avren tosses 3 spectral shards at random enemies. 1 does damage, 1 stuns, and 1 is fake, and briefly staggers the enemy. Avren's all about mirror image. So Avren casts mirror image every 15 seconds. The image lasts for 30 seconds and buffs its target depending on their tag. So at base, you'll have 2 mirror images out at any given time. See? Those are the blue versions. It just pulses those out. If they are a DPS champion, it increases their damage by an amount that varies. If they're a support champion, it increases the damage of all champions by an amount. If they're a tanking champion, it increases incoming healing by a fixed value, which is silly. Nowadays, this is just silly. Percent would have been cool. He needs a rework, but we'll see what happens. Now, if they have both DPS and support, you get the benefit of both of these, which is fantastic to note. And because you can have this on multiple champions, this effectively becomes a multiplicatively stacking ability that can have a lot of targets and lots of stacks, right? Like, well, I know it's only 2 stacks, but we're going to increase those stacks in a bit. All right, first spec choice. You can focus the mirrors on good, neutral, or evil champions. You choose the one that your primary DPS is. I want to be very clear. I know they put like, oh, there's more of these or 1 or 2. No. Who's your DPS? You choose them. Because you want the mirror on your primary DPS. Full stop. Otherwise, because that's the biggest buff. Okay, so we're going to say Cass is our DPS. We're going to go evil. Second specialization choice, sturdy mirrors or empowered mirrors. Empowered mirrors quadruples the effects. And I know that sounds like a big deal. But remember how I said it's multiplicatively stacking and we currently have 2 mirrors? Sturdy mirrors makes them last longer. Which means, it's only a buff of 100%. But you can go from having 2 to having 4. And when you're multiplicatively stacking, you want with large values, you want You just always want to go sturdy mirrors. There's no reason to ever go. Well, there's an exception to every rule, but vast majority of the time, you're going to want 4. Like you see, now we're up to 3. We'll have 4 here in a second. And that just, it kind of invisibly creates lots of power. Seeing double increases the damage of all champions by 50% multiplicatively for each champion adjacent to Avren. So he ideally wants to be surrounded by champions in a formation. The base amount is increased by 50% for each active mirror image effect on the adjacent champion. So above and beyond that, like, not only does he want to be surrounded by as many champions as possible, ideally he wants the champions who have his mirror images around him. So this is a placement cue for you, because otherwise he doesn't have one. And that's his whole kit, folks. His ultimate is one of the more fun ultimates in the game. He casts Reduce on all enemies on the screen, which deals some damage and also reduces their size by half and their damage done by half for 15 seconds. He also casts Enlarge on himself for the duration, and during that time his base attack changes from Spectral Shards to Kick. So he becomes super big, and then he kicks people in the face, random enemies, and it knocks them back if they were to live. And look at all the enemies are just tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. I love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Item-wise, pair of damage all champions item because he's pure support. Mirror image, seeing double. Obviously, this is the big one. This is the mathematically overpowered one. This one might be, too. I would have to check. Ultimate attack damage, ultimate cooldown. Damage all champions. He can count as a gnome. He's got a glitch feat that counts as a gnome and boosts mirror image on gnome champions. I don't know what they were doing there, but sure. Mirror image, which is obviously what you want to go for because this is a great stuff. And yeah, seeing double. These are both mops, so you want all of these. He's got a strength +2, which lets him qualify for Zerial as a patron. Again, he's kind of an older champion, but it still checks out. It's an older champion, sir, but he still checks out. Look at all those mirrors. Look at all those mirrors. Who am I talking about next? Oh, Ezmeralda. Ezmeralda's next in line. I'm a huge fan of Ezmeralda. I really like her. I've liked her forever, but her rework just made her huge, in my opinion. Female human fighter wizard. She is a human, but she is Vistana. It's important to note. Got it good. Support speed debuff. They just added the speed roll to her, finally. She has an effect that counts as a speed effect. She's not affiliated with anyone. Base attack. I know she's holding the sword, folks, but she throws a firebolt. So it is a magical base attack. Her ultimate, I know she's holding the sword, but it's ranged. Ezmeralda attacks the enemy with the highest health, greatly debuffing them. Her ultimate is so good, folks. It drops an enormous debuff. And the debuff gets bigger the more debuffs have already been applied in the current area. So if you've got like AoE debuffers and you're just applying debuffs over and over and over again, it's tracking that. And then when you drop this signal, like on my signal, attack this champion, it just wrecks. It puts such a big debuff on them that then you just smack them and they fall over. It's really good. I think it gets underestimated by a lot of people. Training montage. Ezmeralda marks enemies that she attacks, training other champions to spot their vulnerable points. Marked enemies take more damage. This is her debuff. From all champions, for each debuff champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Don't go overboard. I know this is multiplicatively stacking, and we like that. But don't try to just build a formation full of debuffers. That's not necessarily the best idea. Yeah, just keep that in mind. I mean, this is nice, but it's not that nice. Just keep that in mind for now. For now, who knows? One day there might be a formation of debuffers that's just OP, and Ezmeralda just blows up the game. Preparation. Every time a debuff is applied to an enemy, not from her, any debuff, the effective training montage is increased by an amount stacking multiplicatively up to 100 times. Or resetting when changing areas. This is what I call an in-area ramp. So the longer you're on an area, the more damage you're going to be able to do. So this is something that's going to kick in later in your runs as it takes longer to clear. and it stacks multiplicatively and gives you a huge, gives you a nice big bonus. This is important. So we've been stacking here for a while. Oh no, everything's dying instantly. So now debuffs are getting applied. No. Yeah. So this is going to be something you notice further in. Preparation. Oh no, that was what we were talking about. Threat tracking. Undead or Ezmeralda's favored foes. You can add favored foes. We'll talk about that in a bit. But right off the bat, she is anti-undead. Whenever one of Ezmeralda's favored foes are killed while she's in the formation, she tracks the kill, increasing the base effective training montage by a very small amount. For each kill, this stacks additively. These stacks persist for the entire adventure, so this is an in-adventure ramp. So the more undead the more her favored foes, let's say it this way, that you're dealing with, the bigger this number get. It does cap at 1 EO5, which, for those who don't know, that's 10,000. So that you're not just in it forever, but that's a solid number. So this really means, if it's an undead adventure, she's going to shine there. She can add other types of favored foes. We'll get to that. Spec choices. She has some neat options here. There's one that I favor, but we'll go over all of them. So we've trained for this, Vampire Hunter or the Devil You Know. We've trained for this. All champions deal a lot more damage against enemies with armor-based health. This increases their chance of breaking an armor piece, because to remove an armor segment, you have to do a minimum level of damage, right? So she helps you out against armored enemies. Additionally, if a hit-based or armor-based enemy, so any enemy with segmented health, is affected by training montage, her debuff, successful hits against them remove an additional segment. So not only is she giving you more damage against armored enemies, if you do enough damage to take off a segment, you'll remove 2. Right? So she is amazing in helping you with armored enemies and just even segmented health enemies in general, like hit-based. The boss in the Trickster's Delight on Area 50 is hit-based. So you get credit for 2 hits instead of 1. This is what I go with almost always. If I'm putting her in, because I have all the champions, if I'm putting her in my formation, she's in there for her debuff, her ramping, and her help against segmented health stuff. That's her kind of niche, right? And I love it. Vampire Hunter, the effective training montage is increased by a large amount, very large amount, on enemies who are one of Ezmeralda's favored foes, and threat tracking counts each favored foe killed twice. So if you're really trying to ramp up threat tracking, and you're dealing with lots of favored foes, this could be a huge bonus. This ramps up based off items, but it can scale really well. And again, it is who are one of her favorite foes. It's not just undead, but it starts at undead. Devil You Know, this increases the effective training montage by a good amount, or an even bigger amount if the current adventure is a Strahd patron adventurer variant, because she's from the Barovia, the Mists. So she knows Strahd, she fights Strahd, she wants to help you fight Strahd. Okay. She'll give you a lot of damage over here if you want. So lots of options. Again, I tend to go left all the time. Because, champions in Idle Champions, most of them, not all, most of them have a niche that they fit into, like a place that they are really good. And for me, it's all I want her in for those segmented health enemies. Enemies in the mist. So if you look over here on the right, every now and then you'll see a cloud of mist appear. And then when it's attacked, an enemy appears, and it's always... we'll talk about this. While Ezmeralda is in the formation, 0 to 2 mist enemies can spawn with each wave. We're seeing them now. When a mist enemy is defeated, an enemy whose type matches one of Ezmeralda's favorite foes appears from the mist. So she creates her own favorite foes. So you can use her even in adventures that don't have her favorite foes in them. She will create them. All nearby enemies gain the training montage debuff, so it AoE debuffs everyone too, which is going to ramp up one of her other abilities. So enemies in the mist is great. This is the speed effect because it's causing more enemies to spawn. All right, item-wise, damage all champions, training montage, preparation, spec choices, and ultimate cooldown. And then we get into feats. So, damage all champions, then threat tracking gains an extra stack for each favored foe killed. If you're trying to ramp it, to 10,000, you slot this. Once it's at 10,000, you can take this out and use something else. 3 feats here. Guide to monstrosities, guide to fiends, guide to humanoids. I fully support Ezmeralda's guides to things because she's awesome. These are the favored foe feats. You can make monstrosities a favored foe, fiends a favored foe, or humanoids a favored foe. These are her tier rewards. This is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 in the event. It's the only way you can get them. It's the only way you can get them. Humanoids are one of the most populous enemies in the game. So this tier 3 one becomes big for her. Okay. We got training montage, preparation, spec choices. She also has a grievous wounds. This one is just damage all champions 50%, but then prevents healing for 10 seconds. You know who heals if they hit your party that she doesn't like? Strahd. So Ezmeralda against Strahd. Anytime you run into Strahd with grievous wounds slotted, just is a hard counter to Strahd. All right, next up, Astarion. We're talking about vampires. Let's talk about our vampire boy. Male high elf rogue. He is a vampire. Neutral evil, support, and gold. And he does both of those fantastically, folks. He joins us from the absolute adversaries. This is the champion, like the what do they call them? Origin characters from Baldur's Gate 3. However, and they're all in. These are all of the playable characters like that you can choose from the start of the game and play as, I should say. They can also be your companions. This is going to be expanding soon. It has already been spoiled. And so I'm going to share this with you. We are getting also non-origin characters from Baldur's Gate 3. We're getting Minthara and Halsin. Minthara's next month, and Halsin is your Christmas present. Folks, enjoy. Minthara is evil and Halsin is good, so they're gonna do different things, right? And be for different groups. And once again, pointing out that you don't just use all of the absolute adversaries; you select them for a purpose. All right, Astarion, even though he's holding a dagger, is a sneak attack, is ranged. He attacks a random target, dealing massive damage if the enemy was recent attacked. He basically moves behind them and then throws the dagger into their back of stabbing them. Vampire spawn. He is already a vampire spawn. He counts as undead for the purpose of effects that care about dead champions, but alive for all other purposes. We hop right into spec choices with him. He either wants to outflank the top, or he either wants to be the top or the bottom, folks. With his outflank maneuver, Astarion increases the damage of all champions either at the top or bottom of each column. So this is based off where you're placing your DPS champion. Now, if you are placing them in a column that only has one champion slot in it, it is both top and bottom at the same time. So you can choose either one. But like this would be the bottom, this would be the top in this column, right? So it doesn't matter which. If I'm buffing Cass at the moment, it doesn't matter which one of these I pick. We'll get to second spec choice in a moment. Ceramorphosis. The absolute adversaries generally have Ceramorphosis appearing somewhere in their kit. For Astarion, it is a major focus for him. It is his mathematically overpowered ability. Your formation gains 1 Ceramorphosis stack due to the Mind Flayer Tadpole in Astarion's brain. Astarion increases the effective outflank by a large amount for each stack, stacking multiplicatively. So the more tadpoles you get in the formation, and they're not just other champions other than the absolute adversaries have tadpole feats, whereas absolute adversaries have tadpoles some way or one way or another, either as a base ability like this or as a spec choice. But then there are other champions in the game that have tadpole feats, so you can build around tadpole formations, and it's beefy. It's beefy as long as you just have to read what their ability does with tadpoles. But he provides a big buff for tadpoles. Generational Wealth is his gold find ability, increases the gold find of the formation, just flat gold find, by an amount multiplied by the total age of all champions in the formation. Cass being in here, age 976, kind of a big deal for his gold find. So if the Dark Urge is in the formation, the effect of the ability is just doubled. So the Dark Urge doesn't have an age. But if you put them into the formation with Astarion, it takes whatever your total is and doubles it. Sanguine Hunger is the ultimate attack, and it's important for him. He viciously attacks the enemy with the most health with a vampiric bite and heals to full health. Now, I said this was important, and you're like, why is healing a support important? It triggers another ability. It triggers another ability called Well Fed. After using Sanguine Hunger, Astarion's outflank is buffed by a large amount. This effect can stack multiplicatively up to 10 times. Well, it's actually less than that. I have a feed in. It's up to 5 times normally. There's a new feat for that, and it's just mwah. So normally it's up to 5 times, with stacks resetting when changing areas. So this is an in-area ramp off pumping his ultimate over and over and over again, and it buffs his major ability, which is also buffed majorly by Ceramorphosis. It makes Astarion's buffs go real high. And now that it's 10 times, I'm like, oh, I haven't tested it at 10 times yet. But the second I saw that feed, I was like, yes, please. Because 5 was a big deal. 5 was a big deal. So 10 is just going to be huge. And then the ultimate outflank. If Astarion is also buffed by outflank, so he is also, like, if you've chosen top, he's at the top. If you've chosen bottom, he's at the bottom. He reduces the active ultimate cooldown of all other champions in the formation by 10%. So this isn't a requirement, but if you want to get cooldowns back by a little bit, like 10% is a weird value, because if it's at a super long cooldown, it reduces a lot. But if it's at a very low cooldown, if it's down to 10 seconds, it's just reducing a second. So it is, but yeah, it's an option. It's not something you have to do, but if you can, it's nice. Final spec choice is Thief, Arcane Trickster, or Assassin. This is the rogue spec tree, basically. Thief is going to get you more gold for each gold find champion in the formation. So if you're doing some Azaka farming, or what I call dirty gold farming, where you just have gold find champions in, Thief's going to give you a huge value, a huge boost to your gold. Arcane Trickster, he increases the damage bonus of Outflank by 100% for each champion in the formation that is Rogue, Wizard, or Absolute Adversaries, and it stacks multiplicatively. So this is for deep pushing power. Okay, if you meet these requirements. And then Assassin, he increases the bonus Bud-based damage his sneak attack deals up to 5 seconds, because his sneak attack can do a bonus damage that's Bud-based. But yeah, this is big. This could be big if you're trying to, if you already have all the damage you want, but what you need to do is get through like armored enemies. Boosting the sneak attack damage makes him an armor clearer, even as a support champion. I'm gonna go damage. Let's max this out. We are going long because there's just so many champions and there's so much cool stuff this event, folks. Yeah, okay. Item wise, damage all champions, then we go straight into Ceramorphosis. This is huge. Generational wealth, also huge, because I like money. Well fed. Yeah, outflank. Sure. Ultimate cooldown. Yep. Like his kit, his items are just, it's great. It's great stuff. Damage all champions, you got some gold items, you got well fed boost, you got Ceramorphosis. These are the main ones. Generational wealth, so you can, if you're just going for gold find, he's got 4 gold find feats. Well fed, ultimate outflank, top bottom, he's super flexible. Dob is up next, folks. Dob, a little Dob will do you. Dob is a male half-orc bard, category good support and gold, also like Astarion, from the Oxventurers Guild. So this is a completed affiliation. They are all in here. Dob's base attack is magical. He leaps to the closest enemy and attacks with a wave of thunder, knocking them back. Dob's kit is about... well, let's just go over it. Traveling Entertainer. Dob increases the damage of champions not next to him. So you don't want him next to your DPS. Easy idea right there. Just don't put him next to the DPS, which is rare in this game. A lot of people want adjacency. It's a way to limit how much power you can get on a champion by limiting the number of adjacent slots. Busking. Dob increases global gold find. So that's this number up here. For each champion next to him. But Gaarawarr, you just said no. I said don't put the DPS next to him. Surround him with as many people as possible. Just not the DPS. And it stacks multiplicatively, so he is a solid gold find booster here. Offshore accounting. This is the fun one that confuses people. At the transition to each new area, so as you're moving into a new area, there's a 25% chance that Dob sets the champion's gold amount to 0. That's the money you've been saving up here and working so hard for. He takes it all. And then you gain deposit stacks equal to the exponent of the lost gold. This is why we use scientific notation. The exponent is the number after the E. So if Dob were to take all of our money right now, we'd get 92 deposit stacks. Dob increases both the damage of Traveling Entertainer and the gold find of Busking by 10% for each deposit stack, stacking additively. You want him taking your money. You want him taking your money. Because he's going to not only make you do more damage, he's going to earn you more gold because of it. This is the power of investing. Invest early, invest often. Number of deposit stacks is capped at 25 times the highest area completed. Now, obviously on area 1, we wouldn't get 93 stacks. We'd get 25 because it's capped. But as you're progressing, 25 times the number of the highest area becomes a very big number. And getting this, as long you want him in early, and you want him early. You want him running the whole adventure. Because that's how it's just easier for him to stay capped. To cap and stay capped that way. He's not someone that you can put in later on, really. There's ways to do it, but it's problematic. All right. Spec choices. It's all about making friends. You can either make friends with magical people, friendly people, quick people, or just everyone. And honestly, most of the time I'm going with everyone. So magical people increases this is all buffing Traveling Entertainer by 100%. For each Oxventure's champion or champion with magical base attack, multiplicatively stacking. Friendly, Oxventure's champion or champion with charisma 17. Okay, so you're looking for the largest number. Quick, Oxventure's champions or Dex 17 or higher, right? And then everybody is just 100% for each unique species in the formation. A lot of the time, this one ends up being the highest for me. So, I go with that. But you really are just trying to pick the whatever the higher number is because it stacks multiplicatively. So build out your formation and then make that choice. Ethelfrith's hand. Oh, I'd actually forgotten about this ultimate. Ethelfrith's hammer. Dob uses the hammer to summon a bunch of skeletons to build a wall that lasts for 20 seconds. That deals damage to enemies in the way that it's in the way of. For the duration, evil champions deal 1,000% damage for reasons best left unsaid. It's because they build the wall out of kids, is my understanding. So Dob likes the ultimate is good for evil DPS. Here's what it looks like. They're building that wall. Yeah, as orphans, boss. Yeah. Oh no. Just say no to walls. Just say no to walls, folks. All right. That's everything. He's got a real straightforward kit, folks. Yeah, real straightforward. Damage all champions. Straight up gold find. Traveling Entertainer. Befriend. Ultimate attack. Ultimate cooldown. In the feats. Damage all champions. More gold find. Traveling Entertainer. Befriend. Offshore accounting. Triggers. I want to be very specific about double deposit. Double deposit doesn't, like, what it should do is double, like, what your cap is. That's not what it does. It just doubles the chance for it to trigger, so it gets you to your cap faster. I've never had a problem getting to my cap, but if for some reason you were to load him in late in adventure because you forgot, double deposit would help you get capped faster. But once you're capped, then it doesn't do anything. All right, last champion. God, we went so long. I'm going to hit... We got about a dozen questions, so we're going to do lightning round on questions. Talk about Kent. Talking about Kent. Male, tiefling, rogue, neutral good, DPS, and support, so you can be either. It comes from the Rivals of Waterdeep. This is a fully fleshed out affiliation. Base attack is melee. With a rapier, he strikes the closest enemy. Ultimate is called Whales from the Grave. No, it's not. It's not those kind of whales. Although I would really like to see him have a water genasi skin and have it be actual whales for his ultimate. No, this is the weather changes to fog, and for 30 seconds, whenever Kent attacks, a ghostly spirit is summoned and attacks an additional enemy, if possible, dealing bud damage. So this ultimate allows him to do bud-based damage, which means it is great against armored enemies. Here's what it looks like. When he attacks, there'll be like, here we get fog. And if he attacks, if there's another enemy, there's a spirit that attacks too, but everything's dying instantly, so it's not triggering. But it does turn the area to fog, and that's a big deal for some of his companions in his affiliation. His passive ability is inseparable. If Virgil qualifies for an adventure, Kent gets to be used there as well. So you'll be like, wait, why is Kent available here? He doesn't match. It's because Virgil qualifies. Virgil and Kent can go wherever the other can go. They're inseparable. Yeah, I really want ghostly whales to come in and just be like damaging stuff. Tokens of the Departed. This is a unique mechanic in the game that they tried out. I always forget about it. I always forget. Kent keeps a soul trinket of the highest level boss defeated in each campaign, and the highest level boss defeated in events as a whole. Not in each event, but events as a whole. Where he was present. So he just has to be on the level when you kill a boss, and it doesn't have to be the first time you kill a boss. You can push super deep and then load Kent in, drop back, nuke a boss, and he'll get his token. Kent increases the damage of all champions in his column by 10% for each soul trinket level. He tracks this like this. I have not, this is why you can tell I forget. At Avernus, I've got like a 2k one, but the others I have not. Zerixus, I did 2k. Good for me. But I have not gone in. 2k is the highest boss area you can currently get to. I have not gone in and maxed all these out yet. But as you can see, with what I have, it's an EO7, buff, right? So basically, he rewards you for your permanent progress in the game. So as you are boosting your overall damage, you can go tag enemies in each campaign and boost your damage. Bellsman 2050 was a bug. That was a bug. That was a Great Wall of Havelucius situation. It's been fixed. Remember in the old days, each time Kent or the ghostly spirit form from his ultimate attacks, he gains a nostalgia stack that lasts until entering a new area. So this is an in-area ramping effect. Ramps up more if he's got his ultimate going. Faster, I should say. Kent increases damage by 50% for each nostalgia stack, stacking multiplicatively. Buffs are applied to the post-stack value, though. That's not OP. And it caps at 25. So when this is a DPS effect for him. So he likes to attack fast, and if you do it with his ultimate, he's going to ramp up real quick and just really start punching things. Extra! Kent's force of personality emboldens his companions. Kent increases the damage of all champions by your current achievement bonus. Again, Kent is all in on permanent progress. You check your achievement bonus over here. I have unlocked every achievement in the game. Oh, well, except for Cass's now. And I'm it says only in EO6. So this isn't a huge number, but it's something. I feel like it should have been should have had a multiplier on it or something. I don't know. But it is. That is the way it works. So it's free damage based off your achievement bonus. Whales from the Grave is the ultimate. We already talked about that. Spec choices basically is leaning into DPS or going into support mode. Robust Rivals increases the attack bonus from Tokens of the Departed by 100% for each Rivals of Waterdeep champion, stacking multiplicatively. So in a Rivals formation, this is big, but even for his, it's going to give you, even if it's just him, you're going to get double off of that. Potent Poison, whenever Kent attacks an enemy and doesn't kill it, which is his support, which is why this is the support stack, it's affected by a virulent poison. The poison deals 4 seconds worth of bud to the enemy each second for 4 seconds. This allows him as a support to chew through segmented health enemies, be they hit-based or armored. Armored only if the bud damage is high enough to remove segment. Which is fantastic. It's fantastic. All right. Get him all the way up to cap. All right. Is that it? Yep. Item-wise, pair damage all champions, which is odd because he is a DPS as well. One of these should have been self-damage. Tokens of the Departed, remembering the old days, extra, and then ultimate cooldown. Damage of all champions, self-damage. He has one of those 400% damage feats that also prevents healing. Those are great. Departed, remember in the old days, extra. He can speed up his own base attack cooldown by half a second. So lots of options for Kent. We're going to turn progress on and move forward. All right, that's what we're covering today. We'll come back. We're going to take a short musical interlude to rest my voice. And then we've got a dozen questions so far, but if you have new questions, throw them in chat. Again, question : I will be right back. The song we're going to break with is The Boy Who Tricked the Devil.
Creeping in the shadow, mischief in his eye, the thief who stole the world, progenitor of life. By the time he started talking, it's already far too late. He'll take a single coin and rearrange your fate. He's the boy who tricked the devil. He's the man who became a god. Words and trickery his tools, all humanity his fools, and best friends with demons and ghouls. If you've come to bargain, he'll listen to your plea. A pact of life for power, nothing comes for free. By the time you see him smiling, he's taking full control. Take care in how you wager, don't jeopardize your soul. He's the boy who tricked the devil. He's the man who became a god. Words and trickery his tools, all humanity his fools, and best friends with demons and ghouls. If you move against him, you'll be resigned alone. And if his plans do fail, he'll have another clone.
That's amazing.
All right, that is amazing. That's a song for Avren, folks. Song for Avren. I'm going to dive into these questions. I'm going to try to hit the ones that are on topic first, and then we'll go to the rest. We got about 25 minutes. Jay, if we start getting close, like, stop grabbing questions at about, probably, unless we're completely out of questions, until like 10 till, because otherwise I'm going to go long, and I don't want to go long on your weekend. Let's see if we can hit all of these, though. Pranali, do you have to flex, like if you already did a champion to like tier 4, let's hop over here so we understand the question. Like Ezmeralda, if you've already completed a champion to tier 4, do you have to flex them to get their bonus buffs? Yes, because you've completed them, and the reward for completing them was getting all of their permanent stuff, right? But if you want this set of buffs again, you have to flex them. Yeah. You didn't even notice the time. Oh, I felt it. My voice felt it. That is not. I guess semi-related, I guess. Some of these are silly questions. I'm trying to find the other stuff first. We'll get to the silly ones too. Zarkon the Rich, does Cast the Destroyer get inverted with Warduke? Ooh. For reference, Cast the Destroyer makes adjacent champions evil. I think, well, I mean, we can test. I got Warduck. I don't know who this Warduke person is you're talking about, but I have a Warduck. Sure. The only skin that exists. Okay. So for those who don't know, Warduck has something called chaotic conversion, and it is the bane of my existence. Most positional formation abilities targets are inverted, which basically just takes an ability that says, hi, I buff the column in front of me. Like champions the column in front of me, and puts a not in front of that. So, hi, I buff the column not in front of me. So if we were to... Yeah, we're gonna make the magic happen here. We're gonna go cast a destroyer. The question is, Avren, I don't know if it's, here's the problem, I don't know if it would put it here. Yeah, it's not listing here, so let me go over here. Would it put it down here? Do I see something coming up from Cast the Destroyer? I do. Inverted. So it does. It does invert it. So Warduke would invert it to non-adjacent. You have Warduke in. I'm not exactly sure why you would... I guess there's reasons you put Warduke in with Cast. They're kind of competing for DPS, but yeah. Yeah. So it does. You just look. Does it invert? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Whereas now it would not be there, and it would instead be over here on Avren. See, adds evil to Avren's tags. It doesn't show up here, but it does show it down here. So they retain their original alignment, and then they just get that added. Lucas, what evil champions should I time gate or pick from the event to help in Cass's first variant? So like I said, look, if you're in tier 1, you don't necessarily need any more than you have. You just need more favor. You just need E8 or more favor. Probably not even that much, but favor is the big stick you beat things with. Now in this event next week, you're going to get Voronika, and as I recall, she is already evil. Nika, where are you at? Yes. Oh, why did I click on her? Yeah, she's evil. So next week you'll have that. You don't have to do everything this week. You can always wait until next week, right? So you'll get Voronika next week. Krond is evil, but he's a DP. He's a pure DPS. That's not really going to do any good for Astarion's evil. Right? I think Astarion's evil. Didn't we just say? Yes, evil. So Astarion would be the others. I don't know that it's worth it going out trying to chase champions just to try to do that. Because you're going to get champions that don't have any gear. So early on, again, favors your friend. Through tier 1, maybe into tier 2. If you're trying to go beyond that, look, beyond that is partly about your overall game progress and having a deep bench, right? Beyond that, if you're looking for evil champions, you can just come here to the search tool. You can put alignment, click evil. Here's all the evil champions currently in the game. There are some champions that have feats that make them evil as well. They're not listed here, but these are the base evil champions in the game. They all, function in different ways. Remember, Cass is a DPS, so you're really going to want him. You would want to be picking support champions and tanks, right? I forgot to go over how to gear champions. Oh my god, because Cass gets gear automatically. All right, we're gonna pause here in a second. Hold on. Bunchikon, that's the same thing. I lack evil champions. How should I deal with slot 8 for the first variant? I mean, look, whether Human or Warduke. Human is an actual support. Warduke is a tank DPS. Human would probably be the better slot and better option. Yeah. And again, Vahirian, does Warduke and Cass work together? So again, Warduke is a DPS as well as Cass. Cass is a DPS. Having two DPS, neither of them say support. So neither of them are going to help the other out. In a pinch, you could use Warduke to tank with a Cass, but they're going to fight each other for who gets to be setting damage. Yeah. So maybe not the greatest. In a pinch, could it work? You could make it. You could, if you have to, sure. But Vahirian, how many stacks per adventure does Kent need to, or per campaign does Kent need to get really strong? You don't think about it that way, because you can only get what you can get, right? So whatever you can max out is, you just want to get that everywhere, and then be like, okay, and then see how he compares to your other damage dealers. It's not, yeah, because it's not like you can go farm them. Other than you, you can't artificially increase the number he has. It's all about just your ability to push with him and get them, right? Or to have somebody else push and then swap him in to get them. But whatever your deepest push is, just make sure you're at least bringing him in to grab a token. And again, a Demon's Crow. Any recommendations for evil champions to unlock that work well with... Again, if you're just trying to time gate a champion or something, they're not going to have any power, really. It is... They're out there. Again, you can everyone has access to the search feature. It's gonna show you all the champions. I've got guides to every champion. You can go review and pick what's gonna work best for you. But in this event, you will get Voronika next week. You can wait until then. You could also flex a Astarion as a great flex. But usually if you're a newer player, you're wanting to flex champions to target getting two champions in each bench seat for split the party one. If you've completed that, you're trying to get 3 champions in each bench seat. And honestly, that's far more important than just completing a single variant. Yeah. So you should be using your picks to get to those goals and not just thinking about, well, what I'm trying to do in this one variant in an event. You want to be planning overall progress. Tyrant, does Auto Blocksmith event augment work just once or each time? Each time you complete a variant with eligible area for each tier. I think you're misunderstanding. You can only do a variant once per tier, right? So, and with multi-tier, you can just do it once for all the tiers that you've done. It's going to trigger each time you do a tier. So you complete tier 2, you meet the requirement for tier 2. There's a pulse trigger. Tier 3 pulse trigger. Tier 4 pulse trigger. You can't then farm the variant. Once you've done a variant all the way to tier 4, you can't do it again. And it wouldn't re-trigger at lower tiers. It's a high watermark. As you get to tier 2, reward. If you bail and you start again and you get to the tier 2 requirement, well, you already got the reward. So then you're trying to get the tier 3, right? It's once per tier. But you couldn't do a variant over again. Even if you had already completed tier 4, you can't go back and do it again. You can do free plays. Those aren't variants. Okay, let's talk about. I totally forgot about this. Let's talk about real quick how to efficiently gear up a champion. I kind of talked like your Casa came in with white gear, right? But we want to get him obviously up into a functional state, which is going to be blue or better. I'm going to be able to get him into purples because late game account. But the efficient way, once you've unlocked him, he's going to be in whites. You want to come over here to your Electrum chest first. Electrum chests, if you hover over, it tells you it drops gear for any champion you own. However, what it doesn't tell you is that it's going to target champions that have lower gear. Like if your gear is up, like your average gear is up to blue for everyone, any champion that you have that's new that has gear that's less than blue is going to be the primary target for your stuff. So I'm going to get green gear here for Cass. And I'm going to get either green or blue gear for Cass because it can drop up to blue. But what we're trying to get is just greens, right? I'm trying to get Cass to full greens, and it's working, right? Because that's the way it's going to work. Now, so because he already had whites, that gear drop rolled for a white, and because I was like, what? Forgot he already had whites. This is so unusual, but I love it. So that white could then dupe anywhere. But anytime it's going to roll a green or a blue, it's going to come over here because all my gear is better than that. Okay? So you start with Electrums. And you just burn you to be efficient with it, because you're going to want to have Electrums to do this with every champion you unlock. It's best to, like, if you to unlock Cass and do your flex slot and then burn Electrums so you're getting gear on both of them to get them up to green or better. Green is the target, right? If you have this flex slot, you do that too. But then you want to start saving your Electrums again so that when Voronika and this second flex slot comes out, you can do the same thing with them. And then you save and you do the same thing with them. This is going to help you out. Now, early on, if you're brand new, obviously you're not going to have a higher rarity threshold, but you're still going to want to use the Electrums first. You run out of Electrums, you would use silvers for that champion, right? Now, the only way, I've got a bunch because I already spent my tokens. The only way you get silvers now in events is by coming over here, clicking it to the shop, clicking on the champion, and buying an event pack. These are the event packs. Spend whatever tokens you have to buy a pack for whatever champion you want to buy it for. You're going to get 2 silvers and 1 gold. And that's how you can gear up your champion to get efficiently. So I'm going to keep going here with the greens. I'm going to do this. So see, now we should be full green. Nope, we got one more. Dang it. One more. Full green. Okay. Now, if I were limited on the number of Electrums I have, which I'm not, I would stop here. Right? Because I would want, like on a new account, I would stop there because I've got him to greens. The reason I do this is because gold chests can drop green, blue, and purple gear, but they have a special rule. They're always going to give you an upgrade, and they're always going to give you a blue. But the blue isn't guaranteed to be the upgrade. So what you want to do is if you get your gear up to green or better, then both of these guarantees combine, and it will always drop you a blue upgrade. Because what happens is if you have a white and a blue and a green on the same champion, the upgrade could be the green and you could dupe the blue, which is a waste, right? So you're making it so that your gold chests, when you open them for that champion, are efficient and they're giving you a blue. This gets you to blue within full blue. Well, it gets you to 5 blue and 1 purple because of the way pity timers work in 6 chests. The most efficient way to get you to that power setting of blue or better. Okay, I'm going to burn all my Electrums because I do this at the start of every event once I have the champion unlocked. It's actually going to get me blue gear for cast because there's so many that it's going to just fully blue him out. Then I'm going to burn. Then the next order of operations is all the silvers. This is going to give me... Oh, I got a shiny. Real shiny. Oh, and it's the good one. All right, and then I'm going to do all my golds. So right now I am full blue and a shiny, and honestly, shiny on the right one too. This would be a very strong champion, and I have a lot of items now. Because of all those chests, I have about 200 average item levels. But now I'm gonna burn all of these. Obviously, I'm gonna get I got my epic early. But if I burn them all, then I'm gonna get full epic. Didn't get lucky and get another shiny. So here's all the epics. He's got the Eye of Vecna. Oh, that's great. And the Sword of Chaos. Of course he does. And he's got... Oh, and here's my weekend chest from the newsletter. Sign up for the newsletter. And so now he's fully epic. He's got a bunch of item levels. Wow, how strong did he come into the game? Hold on. 821. Oh, good lord. He is a beefy boy for me. Late game accounts, folks. They're ridiculous. And if I open to get the rest of his like gold chest feats, I opened the gold chest earlier this week, and so I have all of his feats active, so I can deck him out, and he's ready to rock with tons of power for me now. But that's you. But just getting him to the blue when you're early is the target. All right. We got more questions. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. York the Young, can you run over the math? Well, here goes the rest of our time. No. The math you do to figure out if a wild offer is worth picking up. Oh. This is subjective, so no, I can't. The value of any of the packs in the shop is subjective to each individual based off of your disposable income. There have been different times when I started this game, I had no disposable income. And then I had some, and so I would spend pretty regularly on the game. But I didn't have a ton, so I was targeting, I don't think I ever did a wild offer that was over $10, because I was more limited. And in packs in the shop, I looked for sales, or I would try to be efficient with my spending, or I would be buying familiars because familiars are useful forever. That kind of stuff, right? So it depends. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't have disposable income anymore, so I have to be very picky and choosy. The only guaranteed purchases that I make are I still will buy a charity familiar right away. So yeah, you have to look at like what you're getting, right? Yours is like a golden epic, and specifically for Karlach is your example. Karlach doesn't have any mathematically overpowered abilities. So while I do have Goldens through here, because I do, there isn't like one that's super important. Like there are on some champions, there's one that's super important. Like if Cass had a Golden Epic right here, the Rod of 7 Parts, that would be a pretty solid pickup. Briv's Golden Epic Theodinorax is huge for people, right? So the for when it comes to Golden Epics, the value is going to vary depending on what it's a golden for. And then everything else that comes with it is a factor, but the value changes. Like that one says 7 time gate pieces. Well, that means nothing to me because I'm sitting on 937. But to a brand new player, that's a new champion, right? So it's really subjective when it comes to purchases. Rough Rider, if Dritz were to die while adventuring to Cass, would he be the leader of the Companions of the Vampires? No. Because Cass, he would be a spawn of Cass. Cass is the leader. Crew Determinator, can you explain how damage in Trial of Mount Tiamat works? I'm in my first run and I'm struggling to tell if I'm doing enough damage or not. Okay. So I am in a trial, so I can explain this. Your damage number that you're worried about, obviously you're worried about how much you're doing down here, but your damage number you're worried about is this line right here. The one that says damage with a big number ending in it. Again, we use scientific notation, E660. Additional total 660. This is your personal damage contribution. Starts with this number. Okay. Now, if you see, my combined total is huge, right? I'm over 11,000. But I started with 660. You get your biggest... Basically, day one is the day you try to set your contribution. Because it's going to be the least restricted. Every day adds a restriction that makes it harder. Okay. So this is your damage. And what is this damage? Well, you can tell by this over here. 6.9. Nice. E660. This was the total cumulative damage I did in my first adventure. Right? You can think of it as your bud. The highest bud you set and multiplied by the amount of times you set it, basically, it's additive, right? So if you can sit there and hit, one E660 bud every attack, every time, the longer you wait, the more it's going to stack up, but eventually it's going to diminishing returns because it's going to take more. Like you get to E661 quickly, but then you won't climb to 662 fast, and going up one order of magnitude at a time isn't huge. But so you're trying to just get the largest value for your bud, basically, that you can get. And that's how you're setting your damage. It is cumulative, so you can raise it if you stay longer, but not that much more. And honestly, if we look, our contribution isn't going to be as big as the reward we get for completing each of the daily goals. Okay? And the daily goals are going to take less. Usually you're pushing way further. Hopefully you're pushing way further than the area required to complete all of this stuff. So if you get a good solid contribution on day one, and then you just come back every day and make sure you're getting to the area goal to get that extra bonus. Now, early on, it's going to look like you're barely denting her. But as you can see, I'm 4 days in and she's almost wrecked. Because every day it starts adding up bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the damage that each day is doing is huge. Trying to add more to your personal contribution means nothing. You just need, that's your day one thing, and then the rest is about completing each of the days. Okay. And early on, if you're in your very first one, you're going to wreck it. It's just make sure you're doing your dailies. People do tier 1, the normal thing on their own, and wreck it. So, but you should be doing the stuff in groups. Right. T5 Cats, has anyone counted, or is there a place to see how many of those 1% bonuses for things like achievements and such? Just curious. I don't know the totals. There's total things out there, but like I said, the total you can get right now is going to be a little more than 158 EO6, only because I'm missing Casses. I haven't done Casses yet. Siddharth, now, do we have someone else besides Valentine with feats that could turn them evil? A couple. I know off the top of my head, I know Orkira has one, but I haven't tracked that. I don't have a list for that or anything. Lurking Rider, if Cass's pawns make it to the other side of the screen, do they transform into a queen, a rook, a bishop, or knight? Look, if you're not taking them in, I guess there's situations where you take it something other than a queen, but man, that's situational. No, they do not. K Hunter, how does everyone prioritize upgrading champions? Do you spend the money on the DPS primarily or evenly, etc.? You do this, I do this double up arrow, and then if you're trying to be efficient because you don't have lots of money, you would look at what's going to give me a group bonus, right? But otherwise, leveling up, you're trying to get to the next big upgrade each time when you don't have a lot of money. Giving Briv as a tank, self-damage doesn't mean anything. So you might wait, if you're trying to be super efficient, you'd wait until he could get to 130 in one click, which would then require you to turn this over to an X100 and see, does he have 20 levels and blah, blah, blah. But generally speaking, you're just trying to level them up together. But if you're trying to be super efficient about it, there are breakpoints for power for each of them, and you can pay attention to that. But that's more if you're trying to get as far as possible in an adventure, maximizing your gold spend. Made it. All right. Oh yeah, folks. I have guides over on these over on the subreddits. That's why they let me do this show. I have now 180 guides over on the Idle Champion subreddit. Don't try to read them all at once. There's one called a new player reference that you can hit up that then helps you walk you through the early game and firmly into the mid game. It's based off my most recent new player count, so it's super solid. There's also a guide in there if you're like, we're talking about stuff like mathematically OP stuff or MOPS, or we're talking about AA. You see AA referenced, and you're like, what's AA stand for? It's not Alcoholics Anonymous, it's Absolute Adversaries, right? I have a Terminology 101 guide. It's got a ton of stuff in it to help you understand that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can hit those up over on the subreddit. This is the last stream of the week for the CNA Games channel. They'll return next week, usually on Tuesdays. But I stream, you stream, we all stream for, no, that's not the word for that. I stream over on my channel, Twitch TV/Gaarawarr, where I'll put my name in chat. You can click on my name and toss me a follow. We do Idle Chatter on Mondays and Wednesdays over there, where we play Idle Champions and answer questions, as well as, sometimes work on guides and stuff. But I also stream other days of the week. Like I will be streaming later today in about an hour after I go grab lunch. And we're playing a pirate game. It's my birthday this month, so we're playing with pirates because I like pirates. So come join me and hang out. It's usually a fun time. Thank you to all of you for asking questions. Thanks to Jay for grabbing the questions. The song we're going out on is Ezmeralda's song from Bardic Inspiration. It's Where Angels Fear to Tread, and it's a banger. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Struck out on my own, with no place to call my home, but a purpose burning right inside my heart. Saw the mentor on my quest, I could study with the best. Now there's nothing left but vengeance in my car. When fate took my leg, I got up to fight again. Nothing stops me from the task at hand. Now I'm stronger than before. I stand ready for this war. Drive the undead scourge out of this land. Predators are played by my hands. I'm going where angels fear to tread. I'm going where evil goes. I'll hunt them to the end. Eternal peace for the undead. I'll send them on ahead. It's time to make amends. Stalking monsters all alone in this dread domain I roam. Ancient evil